Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Josh and this is your second stimulus check update for Friday, June 19th. I hope everyone is having a great week so far. In this video, we'll be discussing both the first and second stimulus checks, the $4,000 Exploreamerica tax credit, and then I'm going to wrap up this video by answering some of the comments and questions that I received in my previous video. Now, before I get into all of that today, if you wouldn't mind just real quickly liking this video, giving me a big thumbs up, it really just helps with the YouTube algorithm in terms of pushing this video out to other viewers like you, and hopefully helping other people like you as well. In addition to that, if you wouldn't mind leaving a comment in the comment section below, letting me know whether or not you received your first stimulus payment yet or not, and that way it just creates a good conversation and lets other people know that, hey, I'm not alone, there are still other people out there that haven't yet received their stimulus payments. Okay, so I'm sure by now everyone out there has seen all the different type of masks. They've seen the N95 professional type ones, and then they've seen like the disposable ones where you just throw them out each time you use them. But have you seen a reusable, chargeable mask yet? Well, researchers in Israel say they have invented a reusable face mask that can kill viruses by drawing power from a mobile phone charger. That's right, they have invented masks that actually disinfect themselves. Now, when these masks are plugged in, it will take around 30 minutes for any lingering viruses to be killed off. And obviously, I probably shouldn't have to say this, but you're not supposed to be wearing the mask whenever the mask is plugged in, as obviously that could be deemed a safety hazard. Interesting stuff. Okay, moving right along to the first stimulus check. As mentioned in previous videos, the last set of direct deposits were sent out last week, and they're going to continue to send out payments every single week in forms of direct deposits. So if you haven't yet received your stimulus payment, hang in there. There are still millions of people out there that haven't received their first stimulus payments. So if you're one of them, you're not alone, and they're not going to leave you out. They're not going to forget about you. And if it's my speculation, I would think the next set of stimulus payments should go out next Wednesday, as they are usually directly depositing these stimulus payments out on a Wednesday. So I would be checking your bank account on the 24th and continue checking the payment portal in the meantime. Now, if you are checking the payment portal and you receive the message of payment status not available, that simply means that the IRS has not yet scheduled a delivery date for you. So it doesn't mean that you're ineligible, and it doesn't mean that you're not going to receive your payment. One trick you could try is typing your physical street address in all capital letters, but if that doesn't work, then that just means that your payment has just not been scheduled yet, and you should just continue checking the payment portal until you do receive a date. Additionally, you can always try calling the IRS. Their phone number for their EIP hotline is 1-800-919-9835. However, I would say that it's probably not worth it, just because you're going to be on hold for at least a couple of hours, and most of the time the IRS agents really don't have a lot of information to give, and the most important information you can find is actually on the payment portal. So in the meantime, unfortunately, you just have to remain being patient. I know it's frustrating, but you definitely will eventually receive a date. And remember, you are definitely eligible as long as you're not being claimed as a dependent on someone else's tax returns, and as long as you don't have something like past due child support that can potentially offset your stimulus payment. All right, so now at this point, I'm going to move on to updates about the second stimulus checks. So as I mentioned before, we had three different numbers thrown around. So we had a $3 trillion number thrown around by Nancy Pelosi in the House of Representatives. And the House of Representatives has actually already passed a stimulus bill called the HEROES Act, and it's calling for $1,200 per person, and each dependent would also receive an additional $1,200 as well, up to 3 dependents. So if you had a married couple, they would receive $2,400, and then if they had 3 kids, 3 dependents, that would be an additional $3,600. So that family would be receiving $6,000. Now that would just be a one-time payment. This isn't going to be an ongoing thing for months on end. Now, on the other hand, we had Mitch McConnell in the Senate. He came out and said, whoa, no, $3 trillion, that's way too much. That's way out of budget. The most we can do here is $1 trillion. So obviously when he came out and said that, it was very bad news, because the HEROES Act wasn't going to pass without Mitch McConnell in the Senate being on board. Now, recently, thankfully, Peter Navarro did come out and say Donald Trump was pushing for $2 trillion. So that was obviously excellent news, because we had the CARES Act. The CARES Act was $2.2 trillion. And with the CARES Act, we all received $1,200 stimulus payments. So now that we're bumping the budget up to $2 trillion versus just the measly $1 trillion with Mitch McConnell's plan, we're looking at much better shape in receiving additional stimulus payments. Now, of course, that extra $1 trillion that Trump was adding in addition to McConnell's $1 trillion, it kind of left us all wondering, like, Where's this extra $1 trillion coming from? Why is Trump wanting to spend an extra $1 trillion on top of McConnell's $1 trillion? And well, it actually came out that Trump is wanting to spend $1 trillion on infrastructure improvements throughout America. So if we're going to be devoting $1 trillion out of the $2 trillion towards infrastructure, that wouldn't leave a whole lot of room left to the other fluff that would be in the bill. And well, one might say, well, that still leaves $1 trillion left towards stimulus payments. Well, no, because they're also going to devote some of these funds towards like state and local governments. Some of it's going to go towards small businesses. Some of it's going to go towards testing to the virus. Some of it's going to go towards small and large businesses. So there's going to be a lot more of these payments being allocated to different things rather than just stimulus payments. So this really just leads me to believe that the $1 trillion suggestion by Trump for infrastructure was kind of just a starting point for negotiation. And in fact, many Republicans are completely against spending $1 trillion towards infrastructure. And I think Trump knows this, but he just wanted to come out with a huge number to start, just kind of like a bargaining point. It's kind of like whenever you go to buy a car. So the first number that the car salesman will come up to you will be this massive number that he knows you're not going to agree to, but it's kind of like a starting point on his end. So the car salesman is going to have his idea of what the car is going to sell for, and of course you're going to have your idea of what you want to pay for the car. So the car salesman's goal is to meet somewhere in the middle. And I kind of think that's what Trump is doing here. He knows that $1 trillion is not going to be devoted to infrastructure, but he knows that if he shoots for a very high number, even if that number gets cut down significantly, it would still be in a range that he would be fairly happy with. So in the end, I do think that this number will get cut down significantly, probably somewhere in the ballpark between $250 and $300 billion. Now, I do think that if we do decide to go super big on infrastructure in this next stimulus bill, what will probably happen is that Nancy Pelosi and Donald Trump will meet somewhere in the middle at around $2.5 trillion, rather than just spending $2 trillion. Now, you may be wondering, why would we even be talking about infrastructure in a pandemic type bill? Shouldn't we be more focused on helping the American people and businesses that were hit the hardest during this pandemic? And even as Mitch McConnell said, infrastructure is unrelated to the virus pandemic that we're all experiencing and trying to figure out how to go forward. Now, the whole point in adding infrastructure as part of this stimulus bill is to try to help stimulate the economy through job growth. That's kind of like the Trump administration and Republicans' idea of stimulating the economy. Rather than giving direct stimulus payments to the American people to spend on however they best see fit, they believe more in adding jobs, reducing unemployment, and in that way Americans can get paid, and they believe this is the better way to stimulate the economy. So take that how you will and use your judgment to make an opinion on that. Okay, so I talked briefly in my last video about the $4,000 Exploreamerica tax credit, where each American family would be given up to $4,000 in tax credit to explore America and do things such as going on flights, staying in hotels, going to restaurants, going to theme parks, stuff like that. Now, this plan was all designed to help out those hard-hit industries such as the hospitality industry, and it's really great in theory, but I really have 3 issues with that. My number 1 issue and question is, are people actually going to have the money to travel after this pandemic? And number 2, are the people that actually have the money to be able to travel, wouldn't they already have the money anyways to travel, and wouldn't they be traveling anyways? So then it brings into question, are we actually helping the right people here? Additionally, another question that you have to ask is it actually going to be a safe thing to travel with the pandemic going on? With the virus cases right now spiking in many states, would it actually be a good thing to encourage traveling? Honestly, I can understand the logic behind this tax credit. Obviously, offering a tax credit for travel is going to help out the hard-hit industries, and also people actually spending their money on travel will help stimulate the economy much better than people just paying their bills. But I think that's the whole point here. People need that extra money to pay their bills right now. And combined with the fact that the people that don't need the money to pay their bills, they probably would have been traveling anyways, whether this pandemic took place or not. So you have to really wonder again, is this actually helping the right people? So all in all, this doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me. Plus, to get the full $4,000 tax credit, you would have to spend around $8,000 because it's only going to cover up to 50% of your family's expenses. So you would have to be spending a lot of money to get money back in the form of a tax credit. And no logical person is going to go out there and say, hey, I'm going to spend $8,000 on a vacation just so I can earn $4,000 back in my pocket. No, the average American right now needs direct stimulus payments to pay off bills. They're not going to be going on these luxury vacation cruises to Jamaica just to earn a tax credit at the end of the year. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. In the end though, while it would help and I certainly could get behind it, The one disappointing thing would be is if we just receive this Exploreamerica tax credit without actually receiving direct stimulus payments to go with it. So if we receive direct stimulus payments and this Exploreamerica tax credit on top of that, then yeah, sure, at that point, I guess I could get behind the bill. All right, so at this point, I'm gonna move on to some of the comments and questions that I received in my previous video. And if you have any other comments or questions for me, feel free to leave them in the comment section below, and I will try to get to some of the more popular ones in my next video. So the first comment of today's video I'm gonna be going over is from Joseph. Joseph says, I got the first $1,200, but my children didn't get anything. I have direct deposit and SSDI on May 28th, but nothing for the kids, which also have direct deposit. No $500 per child yet. Any thoughts? All right, Joseph, thank you so much for that comment. So yes, for each dependent that you have under the age of 17, you're supposed to receive an additional $500 on top of your $1,200 stimulus payment. Now, keep in mind, the IRS unfortunately messed up with thousands of people where they did not send out the additional $500 per dependent. So right now at this moment, the IRS, all they're saying is that we may have to wait until next tax season to claim those extra $500 tax credits. And I think that is incredibly unfair because this is completely the IRS's fault. And if they're gonna make us wait all the way until next year to receive the extra $500, that's just completely unfair to me. All right, so the next question today is from Joe. Joe says, I still haven't received the first one. My husband did receive his. He receives SSI, but I thought as a married couple, it was supposed to be $2,400. I do not work, so I guess that was a bigger lie. All right, Joe, thank you so much for that comment, and I'm so sorry it's taken such a long period of time to receive your stimulus payment. And you are correct. Usually the husband and wife, whenever they are married, they will receive one lump sum payment of $2,400, and they won't receive separate payments of $1,200 each. Now, I have seen some cases where people receive benefits, and those on benefits actually receive separate payments. So this husband will receive a payment of $1,200, and then later on the wife will receive an additional payment of $1,200 or vice versa. So I believe this is the case here. Your husband just got paid first. You should also receive an additional $1,200 yourself. So in the meantime, just keep checking the payment portal, and you yourself should also receive a date as well. All right, so at this point, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap up this video. Once again, guys, I hope everyone is having a great week so far and being safe out there. If you did enjoy the content in this video and you'd like to see more videos like it, please consider subscribing to my YouTube channel. It is a great help to me. It is a great way to support my channel and completely free to do so. And until next time, I'll see you guys, and I hope you have a great day today.